Discovered the incredible truth that turned a millionaire CEO's life upside down in just 30 days. Daniel Blake had it all: money, power, the luxury of a mansion that gleamed brighter than the sun. His life was a whirlwind of corporate maneuvering and high-stakes negotiations. He lived among the elite in a bustling suburb where envy dripped from every conversation. But behind closed doors, amid the glitz and glam, he felt empty, a puppet in the grand theater of success. Ecstatic laughter rang in his quarters, yet he barely had time to notice the faces of his family growing distant. When the phone call came, everything changed. "Your father's in the hospital." Those words struck him like lightning, electrifying every fiber of his self-made empire. As he raced back to his childhood hometown, a heavy weight sat on his chest. The town looked smaller, the streets lined with memories that now felt like ghosts. Old friends waved, but their smiles masked the envy that had grown while he'd been out there in his skyline office. His father, proud and aging, was fighting a battle with his health, and Daniel was caught in a storm of guilt and regret. It felt like a page torn from his own story. Could he face his past? Returning to the hospital was heart-wrenching. The sterile smell was a far cry from the values he cherished as a child. Surrounded by memories of laughter and warmth, he found his father lying weak, his spirit flickering like a candle in the wind. Daniel took a deep breath and sat by his side, holding the worn hand that had once lifted him onto a bike. In that moment, he remembered the power of family, the warmth of summer picnics, the sound of his mother laughing, the lessons of hard work that he had abandoned in his pursuit of wealth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days turned into nights filled with monitoring machines beeping, Daniel began to relentlessly tackle his own disconnection. He reached out to his old friends, rekindling bonds strained under the weight of success. Their struggles echoed in his heart, a painful reminder of what he had left behind. He listened as they shared their trials, faces etched with hard-earned lines, voices trembling with frustration. Guilt washed over him. Had his fortunes come at the cost of the people he loved? His siblings, once confiding in him, sharing dreams, kept their distance, resentment fueling their silence. And their words, unspoken yet palpable, stung like a fresh wound each time they met. The friction simply intensified as he attempted to find a sliver of cohesiveness in their splintered family unit. Then came the confrontation with Steve, a childhood friend who once shared Saturday afternoons under the trees with Daniel. Glaring accusations shot through the air like arrows, puncturing Daniel's carefully built armor. "You think you're better than us because you've made it?" The truth cut deep. Steve's desperate struggle was all too familiar, echoing in Daniel's mind like a broken record. He hesitated, caught in the crossfire of his past success and the desperation of his present. With his father's health worsening, Daniel faced more than just the agonizing hospital rooms. He faced questions about who he wanted to be. What legacy would he leave behind? The stakes couldn't be higher, and he simply didn't know if he could fight both battles against his father's deteriorating health and the growing chasm of alienation that threatened to swallow him whole. A critical intersection loomed. He could feel the weight of both roads pressing on him, every heartbeat louder than the last. Would he emerge from this haze of uncertainty with a newfound understanding of true wealth, or would he continue down the path of isolation? Daniel felt like a stranger in his own skin as he watched the days slip by, each one colder and darker than the last. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a harsh glow on the sterile hospital room that now felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. He gazed at his father, whose frail body lay enveloped in white sheets, each labored breath resonating in Daniel's chest. Memories flooded back: fishing trips, working on the car together, the first time he had ridden a bike. But all he could do now was listen to the constant beeping of machines, matching the rhythm of his swirling thoughts. Realizing that time was slipping through his fingers, he leaned closer to his father. "Dad, I'm sorry for everything," he whispered, feeling the heavy truth of it settle in his throat like a stone. To be alone in a crowded room, surrounded by family yet feeling excluded, was a poignant sting. The walls felt closed in, reminding him of the games he had played in the boardroom, the deals that had only enriched him materially while leaving emotional voids in his life. Here, in the starkness of reality, he began to wonder if any of it had truly mattered. Days blurred into one another. Hospital visits morphed into soul-searching nights as he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, questioning his choices. Each flicker of his father's health nudged him closer to a realization money meant nothing if it came at the cost of love and connection. And suddenly, everything he once valued felt superficial, almost hollow. Would he have been happier if he had chosen a simpler life? The thoughts swirled, demanding answers he wasn't entirely sure he could face. With the weight of emotional unrest pressing heavily on him, he finally mustered the courage to reach out to his siblings. The strained telephone conversations had left a bitterness in the air, but pressed by desperation, he invited them to visit their father together. "We can't let him go without being a family," he insisted over the phone, his heart pounding faster with each word. There was a pause, then a reluctant agreement. When the day arrived, tension filled the room as they gathered. Memories danced in the air, but so did resentment. The unspoken words hung between them like a dark cloud. Hesitant to break the silence, Daniel finally summoned the courage. "We need to do this together. For him. For us." Meeting their eyes, he sought understanding, a bond that had been fractured but never broken. Surprisingly, it was his younger sister, Rachel, who spoke first, her voice choked with emotion. "You think you can just show up and make everything okay?" she cried, tears spilling over. "We've been waiting for you to come back for so long." Daniel felt the raw pain in her words, each syllable striking at his heart. He knew she was right. He had been absent, not just physically but emotionally too. "I don't want to lose you all again," he admitted, vulnerability cracking through his usual bravado. "I want us to be close again." As they shared stories and memories of their father, laughter slipped in between tears. Daniel could feel the heavy weight beginning to lift, hope threading through their familial grief. What if this was the turning point? What if they could truly reconnect? Just as the heavy atmosphere began to lighten, the monitors in the room shifted from their monotonous beeping to a rapid alarm. Panic washed over them, and in an instant, the air crackled with urgency. Doctors and nurses rushed in, their expressions grave, and time seemed to stall. "What is happening?" Daniel's heart raced, the new fear stark against the momentary relief they had just begun to build. As chaos erupted around him, Daniel faced the frightening truth. This was all slipping away right before his eyes. And in this whirlwind of emotions, he realized he couldn't go back to the man he was before. Would he step up, or would he let his family fall into fractured pieces again? "Hang on, Dad," he yelled, desperate for a miracle, as he felt the ground shaking beneath his feet, every moment ticking louder as he awaited the outcome. Would love win against the odds this time, or would it all be lost? The beeping of machines evolved into a frantic staccato that pierced the air, jarring Daniel from his frantic thoughts. He watched as the nurses moved with practiced efficiency, a blur of scrubs and surgical masks, while doctors barked orders, their faces a mix of focus and urgency. Each shout was a countdown, and the room felt as if it was tilting on its axis, leaving him disoriented. "Please, I need to know what's happening," Daniel called out, his voice a mix of desperation and authority, imploring anyone nearby for clarity amidst the storm. A nurse glanced his way, her brow furrowed, but her lips remained tight. The tension in the room cocooned him, a suffocating blanket that made it hard to breathe. Rachel, still crumpled on the floor, looked up at Daniel, her eyes wide with fear. "What if," she began, but her voice cracked, forcing her to stop. Sorrow danced on her features as she struggled to articulate the implicit dread hanging in the air. Daniel met her gaze and felt a surge of determination. He knelt beside her and took her hand, squeezing it tight. No, we can't think like that. We have to believe. His own shaking voice contradicted the strong facade he tried so hard to maintain. They needed something to hold on to, a flicker of hope in this overwhelming darkness. Suddenly, the room shifted again. Code Blue. Room 204. The voice boomed through the hospital's speaker system, sending a wave of shock washing over the family. Daniel's heart sank. Room 204 was their father's room. He could feel every breath becoming heavier, echoing the urgency that raced through him. How could everything change so quickly? The fleeting warmth of connection he had just felt with his siblings vanished, replaced by a chilling fear that gripped his chest. Stay here, a doctor shouted, motioning for the family to stay back. Daniel felt rage bubbling inside him. They were supposed to be a family now. How could they possibly stand on the sidelines while their father fought for his life? Dad, he screamed, the rawness of his plea torn from someplace deep inside. You can't leave us. We just found each other again. His words, filled with raw emotion, bounced against the sterile walls, hanging heavily in the AIR.AS. The medical team worked feverishly, yanking the curtain shut around the bed. Daniel felt panic crescendo within him. He could hear the distant voices of his siblings arguing, fear mingling with their shared grief. They were spiraling now, arguments like quicksilver, fleeting yet cutting. Why no? Rachel's voice was rising, anger tinged with despair. Why did you wait so long to reach out to us? Daniel turned, hurt flooding him. I was afraid. I didn't know how to reconnect. I thought I could fix it on my own, but I can't. His honesty echoed, a shared burden they had all carried too long. As seconds ticked away, a warmth began to surge through the cracks of their fear. Rachel, I don't want to lose you, he implored, voice trembling. I'm here. We'll get through this together. Daniel could feel something shift, almost imperceptibly, in the tension between them. Was there an understanding forming amidst the chaos? An unspoken agreement to stand united against whatever storm was about to come, and then, as if finally responding to their pleas, one of the doctors stepped out, wiping his brow, the weariness heavy on his shoulders. We're still working on him, he said, his tone steady but gentle. It's touch and go. We need to wait. But hope flickered in the space where dread had reigned moments before. Daniel hung on to those words, desperate to hear more. Would this be the moment to gather the shards of their broken family, or would this be the end? Each heartbeat echoed loud in his ears, mixing with the faint beeping from within the room. It became a countdown, blood rushing, breaths suspended, waiting for answers. What did they need to confront next? One truth loomed larger than the chaos swirling in the air. Would they be able to save their father, and along with him, their family? Time seemed to stretch infinitely in that sterile hallway, where every second felt like an eternity. Daniel could feel the weight of uncertainty hanging heavily, almost suffocating. He glanced back at Rachel, her face a canvas of fear and confusion. It mirrored his own turmoil. Do you think he knows we're here? She whispered, almost as if saying it aloud might summon their father back to them. Daniel shook his head, feeling lost in the swirling chaos of emotions. It's Dad. He's fought through so much. He has to know, he replied, focusing on the flickering lights above, as if searching for some divine signal of support. A deep, vacant silence fell across them. The voices of the medical team faded into a dull hum, and they remained frozen, bound by fear and hope. As Sarah, the youngest sibling, sat on the floor, head in her hands, Daniel felt a tide of protective instinct rising inside him. They had to stay together, even if the world around them seemed to shatter. What if we lose him? Rachel broke the silence, tears welling in her eyes. Daniel wanted to reach out to console her, but what comfort could he offer when his own heart ached with the same fear? He took a deep breath, memories flooding him playing catch in the yard, their father's laughter echoing through their childhood home. In a fleeting moment, as memories washed over him, an idea sparked. Rachel, do you remember that time he took us all fishing? Daniel's voice wavered. He was so patient, showed us how to cast the line right. He wouldn't just give up on us. The corners of Rachel's mouth turned up slightly, the warmth of nostalgia cutting through their despair. Yeah, he said, the fish always bite when you least expect it. They shared a fleeting smile, a tiny flicker of hope anchored in the depths of their sorrow. Just then, Daniel noticed a nurse emerging from the curtain, her expression a careful mask. "Family of Mr. Collins?" she called, her eyes scanning the hallway. Daniel jumped to his feet, the air crackling with desperate energy. "That's us," he yelled, racing toward her. The others followed, an instinctive surge of unity propelling them forward. The nurse gestured for them to step into a quieter corner. "He's stable for now," she started, the words like a balm to Daniel's raw nerves. "Stable? What does that mean?" Sarah interjected, her small voice trembling. "The doctors are doing everything they can," the nurse continued, choosing her words with care. "There's been a significant drop in his blood pressure. They're monitoring closely." "It's really touch and go. Can we see him?" Rachel urged, interrupting. "Not just yet. We need to give them time. Please be patient," the nurse said gently. A wave of frustration washed over Daniel. Patience was not what he wanted right now. "Can't we do something?" he insisted. With a sigh, the nurse replied, "Just being here, together, is the most powerful thing you can do. Speak to him when you can, let him know you're all here." A small ember of something determination ignited in Daniel's chest. "We can make a plan to support him when he wakes up," he determined, glancing at his siblings, who slowly nodded in agreement. "We need to be strong for him. He fought for us for years." They formed a small huddle in the hallway, hands clasped tight as if drawing energy from one another. The world outside fell away as they committed to lifting each other up, to be a shield for their father. As the minutes ticked by, anticipation mingled with unease, and their father's presence felt like a ghost hovering just out of reach. Would they be able to summon the strength to weather the storm that loomed ahead? Then, like a bell ringing through the night, Danny gasped as he remembered something. "What if we shared our favorite memories with him when he wakes? It might trigger something, bring him back to us." "Do you think he'd even remember them?" Sarah asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty, but Daniel felt a different pulse in his heart. "Absolutely. It's our family. Those memories are what make us who we are. He'll fight for them just like we will fight for him." A phone buzzed and broke the moment, a loud alarm somewhere echoing in the distance. The family jumped, a shockwave of anxiety trembling through them. Would this be their moment, the one that would change everything? As they waited, time suspended around them, Daniel realized something vital. This was not just a fight for their father's life. It was a fight for their family, for their place together in this world, no matter the cost. And as that thought crystallized, he set his jaw, the weight of their history and shared stories pouring into his veins. What would their father awaken to? Would he still see them as they were? With that question unresolved, a new wave of urgency gripped the air, compelling them forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The alarm's shrill blare echoed through the sterile halls, sending a jolt of raw fear through Daniel. Every instinct screamed to move, to do something, anything, to make it all better. Did it mean something was happening to their father? A knot unraveled in his stomach as the echoes of their whispered hopes collided with the stark reality of uncertainty. Rachel clutched at her brother's arm, her grip tight with anxiety. "What was that?" she asked, eyes wide, breaking through the moment of stillness that held them captive. Daniel could see the questions flickering behind her gaze, questions that mirrored his own. "It's probably just a precaution," he managed, though the lie tasted bitter on his tongue. They could only hope it was as simple as that. The nurse's earlier words echoed in his mind. Being together was powerful, but was it enough? "Look," Sarah said, pointing down the hallway. A group of doctors dressed in scrubs abruptly rushed past them, a wave of urgency surrounding them. Something twisted inside Daniel as they disappeared behind the curtains that held their father. He couldn't breathe, the weight of dread threatening to choke him. "Let us try to remember the good times," Daniel suggested, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. "What about the time Dad taught us to ride our bikes?" Rachel nodded slowly, her brow furrowing in thought. "He ran alongside me until I got it. I fell 1,000 times until I didn't tee, and he was right there every time. Yeah, and he wouldn't let me give up when I wanted to, Sarah chimed in, her small voice trembling but determined. He just kept saying I would fly someday. And I did. A tiny spark ignited as they shared their memories. Daniel watched as the weight of grief lifted, just enough to allow some warmth to seep through the cracks. Together, they created a patchwork of stories, a tapestry woven with laughter and love. It grounded them, a tether to their father, to the man who had shaped their lives. Maybe we should all write down more memories, Rachel suggested, her eyes lighting up with an idea. When he wakes up, we can read them to him. Remind him of what he fought for. I love that, Daniel exclaimed, the fire of resolve burning brighter. Every little thing that makes him him. Just then, the nurse they had spoken to earlier appeared again, her expression carrying the weight of the world. I need to talk to you, she said, her voice steady but laced with an undertone of urgency. Daniel's heart raced. Had something happened? Was their father even more critical than they feared? The siblings stepped back, eyes locked on the nurse, anxiety racing to the forefront of their minds. What is it? Rachel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Your father's condition is stable for now, but he needs you to be strong. There's something you all should understand. Sometimes, patients can hear you even when they are unconscious. Speaking to him might help. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Daniel watched as his siblings' eyes brightened with tentative hope. They exchanged glances, feeling the weight of the moment, that unspoken truth, the connection running deeper than words. Could their tales be the anchor he needed to find his way back? Daniel felt a rush of responsibility crash over him. Let us do it, he urged. Let us go in and talk to him. With determined steps, they moved toward the curtain, each one bolstered by the memories they carried. The fear still loomed, but this time, there was strength in their unity. As Daniel pulled back the curtain, the sterile room opened up before them. Their father lay there, so small and vulnerable, but in that moment, he was theirs to reach. The machines beeped softly, a rhythm that matched the rise and fall of their hopes. Dad? He called softly, stepping closer. We're here. Something shifted in the air, charged and electric, as if opening a doorway to their shared past. What memories would spill forth? Would their voices ignite the spark of recognition he needed? But just as hope began to blossom, a new alarm shrieked through the halls, parallel to the pulse of their anxieties. Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. Were they too late? They each took a breath, ready to face whatever awaited them, knowing that this fight was not just for their father, but for the essence of their family itself. What awaited them beyond that curtain? Whatever it was, it would change everything. Dad, the whisper hung in the room, fragile yet filled with a desperate hope. Daniel felt the air thicken as he watched his father's chest rise and fall, an almost mechanical rhythm that somehow felt like a heartbeat of its own, fighting against the silence. Dad, it's us. Rachel dared step forward, voice trembling. She clutched a worn-out teddy bear in her arms, one that their father had gifted to her when she first began experiencing nightmares. We're right here. Just like all those times you were there for us. The machines beeped steadily, a strange comfort in their predictability. But as they stood there, the tension in the room seemed to twist around them like a living thing, pulling them into the depths of uncertainty. Would he awaken? Did he even know they were there? Remember the camping trip? Sarah chimed in, eager to fill the silence. When we got lost in the woods, and you made us sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly. You had us playing games to distract us from being scared. Her voice rose, filled with innocence and nostalgia. Daniel felt a warmth spread through him. He remembered that day vividly, the fear mingled with laughter, the comforting presence of their dad guiding them back home. Those memories were lifelines, rippling through the haze of worry clouding the air. Dad, we can be with you, like you were with us, Daniel said, determination glimmering in his gaze. You taught us that the best things come when we fight for them, right? He took a breath, brushing his fingers along the side of his father's bed, feeling the coolness of the metal. We're fighting, Dad. We're all in this together. Just then, the alarm that wailed outside dwindled into a murmured conversation, but all he could focus on was the peaceful rhythm of his father's breaths. It was almost like he could hear the whispers of their family history formation around him, intertwining their voices with the promise of unity. "Tell him about the time he taught us to swim," Rachel suggested, her eyes brimming with tears yet glowing with hope. Daniel nodded, pulling them closer. "You know how you'd always throw us in the shallow end first, Dad? It's okay to get wet. You'd say. Then you'd jump in after us, keeping us afloat." "Yes, and you made us believe we were mermaids." Sarah giggled through her tears. Memories flowed, a tide of past love washing over the grim present. The laughter felt like a shield against the fear knotted tightly in Daniel's gut, but then, a sudden shift in the room caught them off guard. The machines chimed with a new urgency, the beeping intensifying. Their father's eyelids fluttered ever so slightly, as if stirred by their voices, their memories weaving around him like a thread in a tapestry. "Keep talking," Rachel breathed, urgency coursing through her. "He needs to hear us." "Dad," Daniel said, straining to keep his voice steady. "If you can hear me, we love you. You've made us so strong. You've always been our guide. We need you to come back and be with us again." In that moment, the machines began to respond. The rhythm changed, a slight rise in the beeps, syncing with the anxious pounding of Daniel's heart. He leaned closer, taking in each detail: the starkness of the room, the familiar smell of antiseptic, and the softness of his father's pale skin against the stiff hospital sheets. "Please, Dad," the plea escaped Daniel's lips, raw and unguarded. But as they leaned in closer, anticipation ignited in the air. Something felt imminent, something on the cusp of revelation. Then, without warning, their father's eyes fully opened. A flicker of confusion passed through them before recognition dawned. "Daniel?" he croaked, a voice barely above a whisper. For a brief moment, time hung suspended, a breath away from changing everything. What would he say now that he was awake? Would his words unlock the truths buried beneath years of silence and fear? Would the moment be the key to everything they were hoping for? Daniel felt a rush of adrenaline charge through him, knowing the answer was hanging limp between them like a thread about to be cut. "Dad?" Daniel's voice trembled, barely escaping his throat. The connection surged with electricity, each moment stretching like the tautness of a bowstring ready to snap. The room felt both too small and too vast as they teetered on the edge of hope and fear. I thought I lost you." His father's words emerged slowly, strained, as though they were fighting their way back from some distant place. The family leaned in, narrowing the space between them, desperately wanting to absorb every word. Rachel squeezed her plush teddy bear tighter. "You didn't lose us, Dad. We've been right here, waiting for you to come back." His father's eyes, although glassy and tired, sparked with a flicker of a smile, a glimmer of the man they had loved. "Waiting," he whispered, clearly grasping at memories just out of reach. "I'm so sorry." "Don't apologize," Daniel urged, the words spilling over. "We're just glad you're back. You need to rest now. We can talk later." "No, please." His father's voice sharpened, revealing a desperate urgency. "You need to listen. There's so much I haven't said, secrets. Things I buried to protect you." The words hung heavy in the air. The promise of an unburdening was palpable, yet they were also afraid of what shadows might emerge from those secrets. The machines beeped dangerously as his father's heart rate started to spike. "Dad, don't strain yourself. Just take a breath," Sarah pleaded, instinctively reaching for his hand. It felt fragile beneath her grasp, a stark reminder of how close they had come to losing him again. "I need you to understand," his father insisted, breathless but fired with determination. "It's about our family. The business I did, things, that money, it's not what you think. It's not enough to keep you safe." Daniel's heart raced. Was this the moment he had been waiting for? The chance to lift the veil on their family's past? "What do you mean? Just tell us, we want to know." His father's gaze drifted toward the ceiling, lost in thought. "You don't understand how hard I fought to build a legacy, but it came with consequences. I thought I could shield you from the truth. But it's like a shadow, always lurking, and I see it now. It might hurt you even more." "Dad, whatever it is, we can handle it," Rachel urged, her bravery surprising even herself. "Some truths are heavy, Rach, want to crush you. Like when you lifted us into the air in those family photos, and it felt like nothing could drop us. Daniel interjected, a desperate attempt to connect their memories with this current reality. You wouldn't drop us then, and you won't drop us now. We're still here. His father took another labored breath, barely holding on, but a hint of a smile played at the corners of his lips. You're right, my little fighters. But before he could say more, the alarm surged once again, drowning out the fragile words. Nurses rushed in, faces lined with confusion and urgency. The moment shifted like wind before a storm, and all thoughts of secrets whispered away into a fog of panic. Out of the way, a nurse commanded, shoving softly but firmly past Rachel and Sarah. No, wait. Daniel's voice rose in protest, his heart pounding like a drum. Don't take him from us. We'll handle this. The nurse replied, already dismissing him with a wave as she focused on the machines. With every frantic movement, Daniel felt the ground slipping beneath him, helplessness flooding in. Dad. The word tore from his throat, raw and terrified. The chaotic scene blurred as he lost sight of the connection they had just begun to rebuild. As the nurses surrounded his father, Daniel caught one last glimpse of the man who had always been their anchor. Their eyes met, an unspoken promise threading the silence, a flicker of determination igniting something inside Daniel. What had his father meant? What secrets lay buried in the past, waiting to drive them apart? The ensuing silence spoke volumes as they thrummed with the tension of the unknown. As the team worked, a glimmer of hope fluttered in Daniel's chest. Maybe the truths could still be uncovered. Maybe it wasn't over yet. And, just outside the room, a shadow loomed, one that held the key to the secrets their father wanted to reveal. What if they got too close to the truth? What would it mean for their family? Time stretched uncomfortably, each beep of the machines intensifying Daniel's anxiety. The room had erupted into a flurry of activity, and all he could do was stand there, rooted to the spot. He wanted to scream, to fight against the reality unfolding before him, but he was trapped by fear, lost in the chaos. Please, please, he murmured under his breath, gripping Sarah's arm tighter than he intended. She glanced up, eyes wide and shimmering, a mirror of his own panic. What if they lost him? Just when they were starting to piece together their fractured family. Rachel was a few steps ahead, trying to see what was going on. Is he going to be okay? She demanded, her small voice barely making it through the noise. The nurse closest to their father shot Rachel a quick look, an expression like a warning, and that's when Daniel felt the dread settle deeper in his gut, twisting like a knife. In the corner of the room, just out of view, a figure stood in the shadows. Cloaked in uncertainty, the silhouette was oddly familiar, a haunting reminder of someone he hadn't seen in years. As the nurse pressed buttons and adjusted tubes, that figure seemed to tremble, and Daniel's heart faltered. His instinct screamed that he needed to confront whoever it was. Stay here, Daniel told his sisters, trying to keep his voice steady as he moved toward the door. He needed answers. How was it possible for someone to know their father, to hold the keys to buried secrets, after everything that had happened? Ignoring the nurse's protest as he squeezed past, Daniel emerged into the dimly lit hallway. The figure turned, revealing a face that made Daniel's stomach drop. It was Lucas, his father's estranged brother, the man whose existence had been a whisper in their family, a shadow cast out years ago. The tension in the air felt electric as their eyes met. Daniel, Lucas said softly, his voice rough like gravel. There was no mistaking the gravity behind his words. We need to talk. Talk about what? Daniel challenged, arms crossed defensively. What could you possibly want after all this time? Anger flared, but it was tinged with confusion. Just listen. It's about your dad. There are things he never told you, things I can explain, but it's not safe here. Lucas glanced nervously down the corridor, eyes darting like a trapped animal. I don't trust you, Daniel shot back, heart racing. You come back now when he's in trouble? The memories of distant family gatherings filled his mind. Lucas's absence, the silence that had followed his departure. You're a part of this mess, aren't you? Let me show you the truth, Lucas implored, stepping closer, urgency etched into his features. Before it's too late. Daniel hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at him. Could his uncle really hold answers? Or would he just deepen the wounds they were trying to heal? Glancing back toward the room, he could see the commotion still taking place, a wave of medical professionals continuing to work on his father, but the reality behind those closed doors felt distant now. What truth? Daniel demanded, a mixture of fear and determination edging his voice. If you're lying, I'm not, Lucas interrupted, lowering his voice. But your father is too deep in the dark to help himself. I can lead you to something that might change everything. Daniel's heart raced again, caught between the weight of hope and the risk of betrayal. What if Lucas was right? What if the truth was the one thing that could save them all? Fine, Daniel said, his breath caught in his throat as he made the decision. I'll listen, but if you try to play games with us again, fair enough. Lucas nodded, relief flooding his expression. Meet me outside, away from prying eyes. It's time someone told you everything. As he stepped into the hallway to follow Lucas, a flicker of uncertainty danced in Daniel's mind. Could facing the past be their salvation, or the beginning of something much worse? And in the room behind him, the alarms continued to scream, echoing the urgency of a truth that waited just beyond reach. What lay ahead could change everything they thought they knew about family, loyalty, and love. Would Daniel be ready for the storm that was about to unfold? Daniel followed Lucas outside, the cool night air hitting him like a refreshing splash of water. He walked quickly, heart thrumming like a drum. Every step away from the noise of the hospital felt like a step deeper into uncertainty. Lucas led him to a small, dimly lit area behind the building, a spot crammed with forgotten equipment and the faint stench of cleaning chemicals. Here, Lucas said, glancing around nervously. We'll be safe here. Safe from what? Daniel asked, irritation rising. You're the one who just appeared out of nowhere, Uncle. If you think I'm going to take your word for anything, I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. Lucas's voice softened, a hint of desperation creeping in. I know I haven't been around, but your father, he's in trouble, and it's connected to me. To our family. You deserve to know. You both deserve to know. Daniel's mind raced. The thought of the chaos back inside pulled at him, but a part of him was magnetically drawn to the enigma that Lucas represented. Just tell me what you know, he demanded, arms crossed, but feeling the weight of curiosity pressing against his resolve. Your dad, Lucas paused, swallowing hard. He was involved in something bigger than I thought. Something dangerous. I had to step away to keep you safe when it all started. I believed it was better for you and your family. Better? Daniel shot back, emotions swirling within. Better? Look at what's happening now. It's chaos. Did you think just leaving wouldn't make things worse? I thought I was keeping you safe, Lucas said, pitching his voice low. But I was wrong. You need to understand, Daniel. It wasn't just family feuds. There are people involved who would go to great lengths to silence anyone who knows too much. Daniel shook his head, caught between anger and confusion. So, you come crawling back with half-truths while my dad's in a hospital bed fighting for his life? What good is that? Because I know where to find the information that can help him, Lucas urged, desperation coloring his tone. Your father never wanted to drag you into this, but he's caught in a storm he can't control. I can help you get answers, secrets that he's kept from you, but only if you let me. For a moment, silence hung heavy between them. All Daniel wanted was to run back inside and stay by his father's side. Parents should protect their kids, not leave them to pick up the pieces. But then the faintest hint of hope tugged at his heart. What if Lucas held the key to understanding everything? To saving his dad? Fine, Daniel said through clenched teeth. But if you're lying, I swear I won't be, Lucas replied, putting his hands up defensively. Meet me tomorrow night. I'll show you everything I found. But he hesitated, looking deeply into Daniel's eyes. You have to promise me you'll be ready to face whatever truths come to light. Whatever it takes, Daniel said, a sense of determination hardening his voice. As he turned to leave, thoughts raced through him. Could this really be the answer? Could confronting the past give them a fighting chance? Or would it just uncover more heartbreak? With his heart pounding, Daniel stepped back towards the hospital, glancing down the shadowy alley one last time. Lucas stood there, waiting, a looming question in the air. What would he find when they finally peeled back the layers of their family's history? Inside the hospital, a quiet dread settled once again. He wasn't sure if the truths he'd learn would heal their fractured family or tear it apart forever. The alarms buzzed in the background, a chilling reminder that time was running out. What lay ahead might shatter everything he thought he understood about loyalty, love, and the bonds of family. And Daniel could feel that something was shifting on the horizon, ready to ignite a confrontation they may not be prepared for. The night deepened around them as Daniel returned to the hospital, a tangle of emotions swirling within him. He couldn't shake the weight of uncertainty. It clung to him like a fog over the town he thought he had left behind. As he stepped back through the sterile corridors, the sounds of beeping machines and hushed whispers buzzed like a swarm of bees in his ears. Each footfall seemed an echo of the turmoil that had tightened its grip on his heart. Inside the room, the energy felt different. His father lay there, still fragile, but something had shifted. Daniel's siblings were huddled nearby, their faces pale but resolute. They had spent countless hours reminiscing about their father, clinging to the memories like lifelines sent from the past. "Did you see him?" Rachel's tear-streaked face lit up as she noticed Daniel enter. He responded. "Just a little, but he did." "Dad." Daniel rushed forward, excitement and hope surging through him. "Can you hear me? We're all here." He grasped his father's hand, the warmth surprisingly reassuring against the sterile chill of the hospital. "We're fighting for you. Don't you leave us now." His father stirred slightly, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. "Daniel, yeah, Dad, it's me." His voice wavered, filled with mixing joy and fear. "We've got so much to tell you. You need to wake up. We're still a family." But the sounds of activity around them shifted abruptly. A nurse burst through the door, all frantic urgency. "We need to check his vitals. Please step back." The family retreated, anxiety coiling tight in Daniel's chest as the medical team worked diligently around them. The beeping machines that punctuated the tension sent his mind racing. Inside, he believed he had to believe that if they could just share their memories, if they could flood their father with love, he would find his way back to them. Time stretched achingly as they hovered outside the barriers of the room. One by one, the emotions wrapped them in a comfort within the fear. "We need to stay strong," Daniel reminded his siblings, squeezing their hands like chains of support. "We've come too far to let go now." And then, even amidst the tense atmosphere, Daniel turned to his siblings. The thought of the secrets Lucas had hinted at pressed heavy on his mind. Would learning the truth bring them closer, or fracture them even further? There was no turning back now. After what felt like an eternity, the team of doctors stepped back, and the nurse approached the family, her stance relaxed yet professional. "Your father is stable for the moment. It's still uncertain, but talking to him and reminding him of who you are may be the best chance we have." "Just like we practiced," Rachel whispered, glancing at Daniel, who nodded gravely. "Let us do this then," Sarah said, her voice a brave murmur. "For Dad." Together, as if performing a sacred act, they filed inside the room, hearts pounding in unison. The air in the room was thick with hope and fear, woven into an intricate pattern of family bonds that gripped them tight. "Dad, can you hear us?" Daniel called gently, stepping closer. The machines hummed an uneasy background, but in that moment, he felt the warmth of connection steadying him. "I'm so proud of you. You fought for us every day. Now we're going to fight for you." A sense of calm washed over him, a deep and tender realization that love was the strongest force there was. And suddenly, with each shared story, with each heartfelt memory, they painted the walls of that room with the vibrant colors of their family life. "Remember the first time you taught me to ride a bike?" Daniel began, choking slightly on the memories. "You ran next to me until I finally got it right. You instilled that sense of strength in me, Dad. You never let me fall too far." His father's eyelids fluttered, a hitch of breath escaping, as if they were pulling him from the depths of slumber. "You found me," he murmured. "Yeah, Dad. We're right here," Rachel exclaimed, her voice fresh with raw emotion. "All of us. And we're never leaving again." They shared more memories, pouring out. into the atmosphere like grains of gold. The stories intertwined, lifting their hearts, forging a path back to the man who had guided them through their lives. And with each word spoken, Daniel felt the flicker of hope turn into a raging flame. Just then, the door swung open, and the nurse entered again, her eyes narrowing in on the family. "I believe he can hear you," she said, or replacing urgency. "Keep going." In that moment, the power of their connection reached out to their father, binding them together in a way that defied the odds. The machines began to fluctuate, subtle yet invigorating. The beeping smoothed into a slower rhythm, matching a deeper, steadier beat that blossomed like a flower watered after a long drought. As they continued to narrate their love, their laughter intertwined with tears, a transformation surged deep within the room. Against all odds, they could feel the threads of their family tightening, knitting together the wounds that had lingered for too long. Then, his father's eyes opened wider, locking on each of them, sheer determination shining through. "You're all here?" he rasped, the shaky words spilling forth like muted bells ringing at dawn. "Yes, Dad. Together," Daniel cried, overwhelmed by a wave of relief. As the machine steadied, clarity returned to his father's gaze. He was here, truly here. "I love you all," their father said, tears shimmering in his eyes, clearly taking in their presence fully. With that moment, a profound understanding settled deep within Daniel's heart. The family they had once feared losing was being reborn, forged anew under the fierce glow of love. "Tomorrow," Daniel whispered softly, memories of Lucas pressing against his awareness. "We'll face whatever comes. We'll do it together." And with new resolve, Daniel felt the burdens of the past fading. Together, they would unravel the truth, understand the darkness that loomed, and emerge stronger than ever. Time would reveal the secrets, but for now, love would conquer all. As the dawn's light began to filter in, Daniel and his family held tight to that moment, unbreakable, intertwined in the unity they fought so hard to reclaim. And if you experience joy, hope, and unity just as they did, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to keep the algorithm alive, because every click feeds our story. Comment your reactions below, and let's celebrate this bond together. This is the moment to show your support.